Don't talk to Jay.
All right, live stream is up, I think. Oh, it's up. And is there anyone that's going to step away from the podium? I just need to know because I'll be pushing this back for you. Nobody in here? Okay. And then I'm not going to do feedback in between just for the time. We have 16 speakers today. I'm not going to do pictures today. I did that photo dump yesterday. If you want a picture of yourself with your proposition behind you, just stay and I'll do that during passing and airdrop it to you. Okay? Cool? We are carrying guns. Carrying guns, perfect. All right. Army teachers. That's what I got, Army teachers. All right. We still clap and go nuts when we get someone up there, so clap.
Hi, I'm Avery Herman, and I'm on the affirmative team. Our opponent believes that teachers should not be allowed to save the lives of their students because they don't have the necessary training. But in reality, teachers get better training than some police officers do. The Armed Teachers Training Program instructs teachers on how to evaluate a situation in the event of an emergency and how to use a gun and accurately. The Armed Teachers Training Program requires teachers to fire 1,000 rounds of ammunition from 30 meters away and only miss twice. That's missing 0.2% of the time. However, police officers are required to shoot only 750 rounds of ammunition from just 25 meters away and miss not once, not twice, but 20% of the time. That's 100 times more than teachers are allowed to miss. Think about that for a second. Police officers, the people who we trust to save our lives in an emergency, and they're being allowed to miss 150 times in their training, and they are still getting the job. Who would you trust more to save your life in an emergency? A teacher with a 99.8% accuracy, or a police officer with an 80% accuracy? The only difference is that the latter miss 1 out of 5 of their shots. Teachers, when properly trained, are as capable as any police officer to save the lives, and they should be given guns so that they can protect them. They also say that the same teachers who just want to save their students and protect their schools shouldn't, because accidents could happen. And it's true, accidents have happened in the past in schools, but that would not happen in any Waukee school, because we will follow the guidelines set by the most recommended teacher training program, the Armed Teachers Program. A teacher who has passed the Armed Teachers Training Program says are to be kept in a locked box that is only to be opened by the designated teacher's thumbprint in the event of an emergency. That's the only time the gun would be used, ever. He also says that most teachers who qualify to defend their kids are prior military people with extensive training on numerous firearms. People like Mrs. Vandermark, who teaches right down the hall from our classroom. He also says, quote, "In order for me to be qualified as an armed teacher, I've had to complete 42 hours of professional training with a pistol, all by Ohio Peace Officer Training, Academy qualified police instructors. This is basic police in their respective academies. Granted, police recruits will also receive additional training for shooting guns at night, use and operation of shotgun, and full auto battle rifles that are generally available only to police and the military. The Armed Teachers Training Program exceeds the training received by police recruits in the use of pistols and revolvers, end quote. In summary, teachers' training surpasses what police officers have to learn, other than things that would not be needed in schools, like how to use a gun at night and how to use auto battle rifles that are only available and certain police. The teachers' extensive training and the safe boxes would eliminate any possible accidents that would happen in schools. And may I remind you that yesterday they said that these same teachers would be a waste of time. They're saying that an attempt to save the lives of the 365 children who have died in school shootings in the past year, and more to come, shouldn't be made because it's a waste of time. What about the boys and girls who have lost their lives? Their time was stolen from them. Were their lives wasting time? How much time must be stolen? How many lives will be lost until training teachers stops becoming a waste of time and starts becoming a priority? How many kids will die until teachers will be trained and kids will be safe? Do you want more children's time to be stolen from, be wasted, just so that we won't have to waste the time to train teachers? Maybe they do, but ask yourselves this. If someone you love, a friend, a brother, a sister, if they were to die in a school shooting, would you want their deaths to be in vain? Would you want their time to be wasted? Or would you want somebody, an armed teacher perhaps, to stand up for the many lives that have been lost in school shootings and prevent another number from being added to the ever-climbing death rate that has taken over our schools? Thank you. Climbing death rate that has taken over our schools. Thank you.
Good job, good job. Okay, so that was the first. Okay, so that was the first affirmative rebuttal, right? Cool. Cool. Very good job. I love how you heard what she did. She went home last night and twisted their words. That was pretty cool. So that was pretty cool to see. Are you good with going off the computer or the phone? Yeah. I'm on my Wi-Fi. I'm on my. I'm on my hotspot. All right, claps, 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 claps.
First off, I want to say that my name is Lennon Steffi, and I'm on the negative team for arming teachers. I think we should not arm teachers. My opponent says that school shootings are much more common than we previously thought, but I disagree. School shootings are a lot. Says that school shootings are much more common than we previously thought, but I disagree. School shootings are a lot less common. When was the last time you heard of a school shooting in Iowa? Last time you heard of a school shooting in Iowa? It's been years, and in that school shooting, only one person was injured. The problem of a student getting shot on school grounds is 1 in 614 million. The probability of winning the Powerball, however, is 1 in million. The probability of winning the Powerball, however, is 1 in 292 million. You are twice as likely to win the Powerball than to get shot on school grounds. Therefore, school shootings are a lot less common than we had previously thought. This takes me to school shootings are a lot less common than we had previously thought. This takes me to their second point. Teachers with guns have saved lives before. I agree, teachers with guns have saved lives before, but that does not mean it will happen again. As my teammate Jay stated, a 2008 RAND study showed that trained police officers hit their shots 18% of the time and hit their shots 37% of the time up close. This principal that she stated in her story probably had a 1 in 10 to 1 in 100 chance of hitting his shot. I would not put my life on the line in a 1 to 10 to 1 to 100 chance. That's a 90 to 99% chance of dying. That's horrible, which shows that yes, teachers have changed or saved people in the past, but no, it is not likely to happen again. Which brings me to their last argument, and that is teachers will have a training period of 5 days where they will learn to shoot well and what to do under the situation of the pressure and fear. But I cannot tell you how much we disagree and how much of a joke that is. In 5 days, you guys cannot learn how to prepare for the horrors of a school shooting. It is much worse than any of us in this room can imagine. And if you do know what it's like, I am so sorry for you. It is terrible. You don't know if you will be there tomorrow. You don't know if your friends will be there tomorrow. And if you hear gunshots in the distance, you don't know if that's your friend that will be lying on the ground tomorrow. It is horrific. And you're thinking that these teachers aren't going to be scared, shaking, that their bullets will just hit? No, it's a horrible ideology. Therefore, we should not arm teachers, and we shouldn't even consider it unless these school shootings actually skyrocket like you said they are.
Since you're already up here, do you want to just jump into closings? Because I was gonna do all rebuttals, then all closings. Do you want to just go? Do you just want to go by topic today? Let's go by topic. Okay, so since you're already up here, let's go. Who went first for the opening? Was it affirmative? So negative first for the closing. Class for negative closing.
Staff will not be allowed to carry firearms during school. We've already shown many accidents may occur. It would not even help solve the problem, and firearms are unwanted by most school districts. We've proven that. However, I'd also like to present a major and game-changing point. Firearms are unwanted by families. Statistics show that when families are asked about ideas for addressing school safety policies, 3 out of 4 parents favored armed police in schools, mental health screenings, and metal detectors at entrances. These things are much safer than allowing adults who maybe did go through training, but maybe didn't take it seriously. Some teachers may carry guns just to carry it and like the feeling of power. Having trained officials and metal detectors are the safer route as for keeping the firearms away from school and reducing the risk of any extra violence. Surveys say that many parents share more violence and guns into an already rocky area. Now tell me, would you put a child in a place where firearms were present in every room? Thank you.
I like how this getting a lot of standing ovations. I like it. All right, let's get that. We're doing our mitigation strategies first here. All right. Send it via. It's not going to come through email. Make sure you upload it somewhere and then share it with me. So upload it to your Google Drive or upload it to upload it to Google Drive and share it. It's not going to come through email. It's too big of a file. Cool. Got it. All right.
Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm on the affirmative team. We have already presented you why teachers should be armed for self-defense for the sake of us. Now, imagine the feeling of someone who has been through this experience or has lost a loved one through it. Looking back over the past 2 decades, the amount of souls we have lost is a grave amount. And not only that, the amount of schools that endure this trauma is absolutely terrifying. Jonathan Blake from the Florida school shooting explains how he watched 4 of his own classmates get shot right in front of him. But then he explained moments after, police came and shouted. From my own experience, the thought of a weapon or something just being there when you're not prepared freezes you in time. But will you ever be prepared for a situation like this? A staff member, student, teacher who has went through this was most likely wondering when someone was going to come save them. Someone like the police. As the halls are empty and everyone is hiding, those echoes seem louder and louder. Brady's campaign for gun violence shows that in 2007 at VA Tech, we lost 32 bright souls. That same year at Omaha Neb, we lost 9. The following year, in 2008, we lost 6 beloveds at Alger, Washington, and another 9 in Covina, California. In 2009, we lost 10 in Atlanta, 13 in New York, and 13 in Texas, and more throughout that year. This list goes on and on. When are we going to do something and not be vulnerable about this? Waiting for first responders. Now, something could have been different, only if we had a self-defense one. Sometimes throwing books at a bullet just isn't enough. 3 years ago, we had to go on lockdown, but we weren't at school. We had to stay hidden for about half an hour or so, and eventually police were everywhere. But what would have happened if police weren't there and the perpetrator actually ended up being there? Would we have just waited? Sometimes the outcome doesn't come out pretty. Melissa Healy quotes, "Psychological injuries are another matter." In March, for instance, 2 students who survived the 2018 massacre at Majority Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, took their own lives. Survivors still have to face the emotion. So tell me, if you were put in that situation, would you either just wait for an outcome, or would you want something to defend yourself with? Would you just sit there in the moment, or would you want help? Thank you.
All right, claps for both teams. Very good job. Way to prep rebuttals. I'm going to do the next one as well as we have for this one. Did we have any record for this one? Perfect. Hop on up. Hop on up. Monday. Second rebuttal's Monday. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. And good job. Love the way you twisted the word. Smart. A little cold? All right, we're feeling good. Let's get our affirmative speaker up. All right, and then who's our negative? And you're ready to go. So you'll go rebuttal. Go first. Is this different than that?
No, this is ours.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Then let's have, is this your rebuttal?
This?
Yeah.
Yes.
Rebuttal, negative first, then affirmative, and then closing, affirmative, negative. Cool? All right. All right, clap, 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 clap.
Okay. First, I would like to state that my name is Pete Walker, and I am on the negative team for open carry firearms. My opponent states that guns are one of the most tactful ways of self-defense, but I disagree with this ridiculous idea. There are many different ways to protect yourself, even if it is against a gun. You can use loud noises or alarms to disorient the attacker. If that fails or you don't have anything on you that you can use to make a noise, you are able to use pepper spray or even flashlights. My opponent also states that just like the alcohol prohibition of the 1920s, if guns were banned, people would still find a way to buy and sell them. The one thing that they failed to mention is that unlike alcohol, guns are not an addiction. The majority of the people who were buying alcohol in the 1920s were, in fact, addicted to it. It was proven that there was a rise in alcohol consumption right before the prohibition of the 1920s. Is that what people are going to need to ban open carry? That unneeded violence can and should be avoided. Finally, my opponent has stated that gun violence can be ended with more guns. That is like saying that violence can be ended with more violence. It just doesn't make any sense. If these weapons were banned, yes, I will admit that the violence would not completely end, but it can be kept to a very, very few. I hope that there can be a day where people can walk around without the fear of guns. A place that bans open carry will be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, so this is the first affirmative rebuttal, so claps for Tyler. Get him, Tyler.
My opponent says that less guns would mean less crime. This is completely wrong. My opponent brought up a devastating Walmart shooting, which is also known as the El Paso shooting. And what I find funny is that the El Paso shooting was in a gun-free zone, but they are trying to put on literally everywhere. This shooting could have been easily prevented if self-defense with a firearm was allowed in the area. And get this, the WashingtonPost.com said that 98% of mass shootings happen in a gun-free zone. 98%. Therefore, if we take away guns, crime will be sure to skyrocket, and before you know it, mass shootings will become a part of our daily lives. Now, continuing on the topic of mass shooting, my opponent said that mass shootings would be prevented because nobody would have the guns to commit them. I disagree with this. This is completely ridiculous. Criminals will always find ways to get guns, always. And now this means that the now defenseless law-abiding citizens who aren't illegally getting guns have absolutely no way to protect themselves. Instead of making things better, this will make it so much worse. I know that you're probably thinking that the police will handle it. That's not true at all. According to concealedgunsprocon.org, the average police response time is 11 minutes, and even more in some places. That is 11 long, horrible minutes where a criminal can shoot so many innocent people and get out before the police are even alerted. Therefore, if we take away guns, it is going to be worse than shooting fish in a barrel. My opponent has also said that if the legally armed citizens try to help in a mass shooting, that it will only cause more danger and confusion. However, according to ExploreProQuest.com, 98% of police say that you need guns for situations like this. Do you really think that police of all would want us to have guns if it added danger? And now this is what I'm confused about. My opponents want to remove guns because it would possibly add confusion. Honestly, confusion. Trying to save your life possibly add confusion. Therefore, legally armed citizens trying to save innocent lives does not add danger, and it definitely does not add confusion. This is why we absolutely need to be able to open carry our guns. And if you disagree with this, you are disgracing thousands of men, women, and children who have been murdered because of what they are trying to force upon them. Thank you.
Love it. All right, so that was the negative. That was the affirmative. Okay, so then now we'll go. Who went first for the opening? Was affirmative? Okay, so then the negative will go first, last, or first for the closing, affirmative last for the closing. Other, whichever way you did it, do the opposite from the first round.
Okay.
Cool?
From the very first round? So
The opposite. So whoever went first for your opening should go second for your closing. Closer will go second.
okay.
Which opener went first? Which team?
They went
So
first.
you're, there we go. Constitution.
Our current firearm policy is not helping whatsoever. We must either enforce it or, better yet, change it. We've already shown that crime rates will go down, people will feel safer at school, and school shooting and college shootings will also go down. Guns are unsafe anywhere with anyone. They are so dangerous even just to have on you. They need to be banned in America for the good and safety of everyone. So many people have died from gun violence in the past year. Over 40,000, according to the American Gun Violence Archive. People need and want to feel safe, and this is doing anything but that. Carrying a gun around a store in your back pocket does not sound right or responsible. If this continues, it will only end in more lives lost. Open carry should not be allowed in America. Think of the safety of your friends, your family, or your children. Do not let this violence continue. Thank you.
Good job. All right. And then it's going to be the closing, which I think is Shelby, and then we'll have your last rebuttals Monday. All right. All right, clap for Shelby. Awesome. If you go out in the hall, don't come back in if someone is sneaky. Okay? Wait till they're done and then come.
We have shown that legal open carry in the United States is more beneficial towards family safety in public and overall safety in general. Open carry ends the suffering of people that have gotten their lives dramatically changed by not being able to defend themselves properly. 84 out of 100 times, a gun is used to protect someone rather than to attack. If you or your family were out in public, wouldn't you want to be able to protect them no matter the circumstance? Me too. Now, yes, firearms can be used to carry out horrific acts of violence, but the vast majority of the lawful gun owners will never use their firearm for unlawful purposes. And in fact, they're more likely to use their firearms for self-defense than criminals are to use their firearms to harm innocent people. In a Philadelphia barbershop earlier this year, Warren Edwards opened fire on a customer in a barbershop after an argument. Another man with a concealed carry permit. Of course, we don't know if the shooter would have shot the innocent people if he knew another man was armed in the area. But going off of the fact that 60% of crimes are prevented because the shooter knows that the victim is armed, it might have saved those lives and those losses that day. Many families had to be hurt by that act of violence because they had no way of protecting themselves. Imagine if those losses were in your family that afternoon. Extreme amounts of lives are changed every year due to not being able to defend yourself properly. When you're in a bad situation in public, defend yourself. Let's stop innocent people losing their lives now and take a chance of legal open carry permanently in public for the safety of children and families all over America. Thank you.
All right, class for both groups. They did a good job. Get on out of here. Do I have a team that doesn't have a video? I'm going to push those to the last one because I don't know if we're going to get everyone today, although we still might get everyone. So is anyone video for animal abuse? For that proposition? Nobody? Cool. Let's get these two teams up then. Let's get these two teams up. Hey. What's that? Teams number 5 left? Okay. We don't have access to the document. You have access to it right. You can get it pulled up on. So just pull it up on your computer. All right, we're good? Feeling good? Okay, so it's going to be your, and then the closer opposed. Cool. Affirmative, what's that? Affirmative, let's go affirmative rebuttal, then negative rebuttal, and then affirmative or negative close and affirmative close. Cool? All right. So it's affirmative first rebuttal. Clap, clap, clap.
Do I have to take off my mask?
No, some people do, some people don't. You're easier to hear if you take it off, but you don't have to.
Okay, well. So my opponent says people who abuse animals are mentally ill and help rather than being sensitive. But we disagree because animal abuse usually leads to bad abuse on humans. Because a high percentage of serial killers and school shooters have a history of abusing animals first then to humans. Based on the article We're Too Soft on Animal Duty, serial killers often start with animals before graduating to human victims. Notorious killers, including Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Ivan Miller, and Paul Denner, had histories of animal abuse. Knowing that people usually go from animals to humans is dangerous and unhealthy. If someone abused an animal and gets help instead of going to jail, they might not stop abusing animals, and it will keep happening. Without those people in jail puts a high risk in some humans and more animals' lives. Therefore, people who abuse animals need to go to jail instead of getting help.
All right, so then it'll be the negative rebuttal after that. Clapping, clapping, clapping.
Caitlin Boyd, and I am on the negative team. My opponent says if there is no punishment in this state, and that there should be a punishment in this state if there is one in every other state. But in recent years, there has been increasing interest in children abusing animals. For the uneducated children, animal abuse just links them to being maltreated at home because childhood cruelty to animals has been shown to be an indicator of child abuse. It is more prevalent to those who are seriously ill who have been sexually, physically, or mentally abused than those who have not been. Therefore, children who are uneducated or indicating what happens at home should be talked to and learning by adults instead of saying why animal abuse is wrong and should not get it. My opponent also says animals are living and should not be harmed and should have the same interest as a felony of physical abuse. But we think otherwise because children who are older who are abused are 2 to 3 times more likely to abuse animals. Because yes, animal abuse, earlier in life, is one of the main symptoms of conduct disorder, but children who are ages of 10 or older who attribute to animal abuse are reflecting animal or children abuse seen in their family. Children who are violent behaviors between their parents are around 2 to 3 times more likely to abuse animals. Therefore, children who are young adults who don't know better than violence don't deserve to have a felony. My opponent also says that cruelty should be a felony because if there is no punishment to their actions, it can lead to violent behaviors in the future. But we disagree because these actions are due to medical illness, and someone who can't control it shouldn't be blamed for something they cannot control. Because many studies have shown that these children who are exposed to physical abuse and threats by a caretaker can develop numerous psychological problems, such as aggressive behaviors and post-traumatic stress disorder reactions. Post-traumatic stress disorder can cause bursts of aggression or irritability, which can be a reason for harming animals. Therefore, they shouldn't get a felony and they should get help so that these are not reoccurring issues in the future.
All right, so now that was the rebuttal, so now it's going to be closing and then closing, because you're opening with first, right? Yep, so it's going to be closing and doing recorded yours, right? Okay. Do you mind doing yours first, because I'm going to get the recording up? Hers is recorded. You mind going first? Is that cool? Okay. Clap for it.
Animal abuse should be a felony now. We've already shown how it's the role of humans to protect animals. When you protect an animal, when you buy or adopt an animal, it's then your responsibility to protect the animal. We've also shown how making animal abuse a felony now protects the animal. In an Australian study which used often animal cruelty, it explains that 6 kangaroos were hit on the side of the road. The culprits drew up onto the side of the road just to purposely hit the kangaroos. 2 of the kangaroos had babies yet to be found, and found 2 more up the road with their heads cut off. If you could prevent this situation from happening, even to 1 more animal, would you? One more thing we'd like to point out is how it keeps us humans safe. In protecting animals, we also protect ourselves. The Humane Society of the United States, a prominent welfare group, has drawn a direct correlation between animal abuse and domestic violence. In one survey, 71% of domestic violence victims reported that their abuser also targeted pets. In another study, researchers found that pet abuse occurred in 88% of families under supervision for child abuse. A U.S. study revealed up to 76% of incidents of animal abuse occur in front of children, which can lead to violent behavior in later life. There are at least 32 studies carried out worldwide that link animal abuse and human violence. Making it a felony now would stop children from seeing it so long and affect their later life. In the end, making animal abuse a felony now will not only protect the animal, but also humans. Our job is to protect them. Any individual who gains pleasure from torturing or killing is to be criticized and feared. And yet, the Victorian justice system treats animal cruelty as a relatively minor, trivial offense, one that rarely ends in jail term. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and play Brooklyn's. I finally got good audio, so I can go into this thing here, so we should be able to hear it. All right, and then I'm gonna try and, can I cast it or?
Yep, I'm gonna take mine off.
Okay.
Stop. So you'll start.
Which one do I click to cast? Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep. All right, and you just shared it with me, Brooklyn, right? All right, I think we got it figured out. Sweet. Here we go. So make sure you're taking notes, opponents. It's all the way up. It's going through that thing. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Okay. I have it plugged in. It's still choosing to go through that. So we're not going to be able to do the video, but you'll get to hear the audio. Because when I try to do the video, it plays it through that speaker way over there. So I'll watch your video to grade you though, okay? Is that cool? Okay.
As we've already stated, animal abuse shouldn't be a felony because it could be from past abuse, mental illness, or just uneducated kids. We would also like to point out the farmers and the animal caretakers that are aware it's okay with their jobs and what they do in it. Animal Liberty says those born weakest often die without veterinarian care. Their short, anonymous lives often lead them to the trash bin. They never get to experience even the slightest gesture of compassion. The animals that are living are only because they got help. And yeah, it might seem like it should be a felony, but it really shouldn't because these people can't help it. They're just farmers, and that's all they know how to do. They're not going to go a whole new job just because people are making it a felony. And if we do make it a felony, that's what they're going to have to do. And you're going to cost a lot of people a lot of lives. And I know for a fact that farmers aren't going to be happy that they're going to have to get rid of all of their equipment that they spent their own money on. Let's just say, for an example, that one pig has 10 piglets, because 10 is the average number of piglets a pig has. And if there are multiple pigs in a factory where they're being held so they can grow up there before they get shipped off, turn into meat, and there are multiple pigs that are all having piglets at the same time. That is so many more piglets than you can even imagine. 2 pigs can have 20 piglets. 3, 30, 4, 40, 5, 50. But let's just say there's 50. That means that you're going to have to get them all checked. All of them need to get their food. All of them need to get their water. And you have to make sure that they're not getting injured by all the other animals. And if there are 50 and they could be all spread out throughout the whole entire factory, it's a lot harder to cover than most people would think. And going off that now, most people, at first, they'd be like, okay, we'll just stop eating meat and we'll just stop having animal products. That means you're going to go vegan. And I bet no one would really want to go vegan. And if you are vegan, I give you highly props because I wouldn't give up any of the meat I eat. And let's just say that all the animal products do end up going off the market and everyone doesn't become vegan. You're causing more problems doing that than if we just kept it the way it was, the way it is. Because if you didn't do something like milking a cow and we didn't control the number of pigs and cows and deers and horses and all the animals, there'd be an overpopulation and it would be so much harder to keep them all contained and not all of them being aggressive towards each other. Because pigs, one pig having 10 piglets, that is 10 more pigs you have to find a spot for. At first, it might be like, okay, well, we'll just scatter them all out. We have plenty of room. It starts to add up when those 10, like there's like 5 females, then they have 10. And then theirs all have 10, roughly around 10. Because you're obviously going to lose a couple. That is a lot more pigs than you would even imagine. And they multiply like crazy because one pig has 10 piglets twice a year. A female pig does. And if we took all the animal products away, that would cause more problems than if we just kept it not being a felony. And that is why me and my team believe animal abuse shouldn't be a felony.
Class for Brooklyn! We're actually going to sneak in Maren, and we might be able to sneak you in if you want. What? We might be able to sneak you in. I'm going to leave it up to you. Yeah, I'm just going to have you stay here till this transition time. Let's wipe real quick if we can. And I'll get the live stream going. You're welcome to go grab a different seat if you want real quick. Just stay where you are. I want to keep going. Just stay where you are. For sure. Can we change can you hit spacebar there? And then Maren, is that your proposition behind you? All right. That's fine with me. All right. All right. Clap, 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 Maren.
Hi, my name is Maren Manning, and I'm on the My opponent says that testing on animals benefits us because we're able to test medicines and help cure disease. But we disagree because most experiments on animals are not even relevant. They do not contribute to future medical advances. And as my opponent said yesterday, many of the experiments conducted are simply out of curiosity and don't even pretend to hold promises for future illnesses. Because according to the article published in the esteemed journal of Royal Society of Medicine, the only reason people are under the misconception that these experiments actually help people is because of the media. Experimenters, universities, and lobbying groups exaggerate the potential that they have to lead to cures and the role they've played in past medicine. Therefore, most of the tests done on animals are pointless because they're not actually scientifically done, so therefore are not realistically going to cure diseases. My opponent also says if we don't test on animals, we don't have to test on humans because there's not an alternative. But we disagree because it doesn't matter how many times scientists test a new drug on animals, there always have to be a human to be the person who uses it. Because according to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, 95% of the drugs that are shown to be safe and effective in animal testing fail in human trials because they don't work or they're proven to have dangerous side effects. Out of the small percentage that are actually approved for human use, half end up being relabeled because of side effects that were not found in animal testing. Therefore, testing on animals is pointless because there's only a small chance for success with the medicine.
All right, where's your head at? What do you want to do? Okay, you're good for doing it Monday? Yeah. And then we're good doing playing your rebuttals Monday. And then Amanda hopefully has that closing. We'll have her go Monday if she's here. Does that work? And if not, I'll read her closing if you can. That's okay. Who's going against your group? Yeah. Who's your rebuttalist? It's Maren, right? Can you at least tell her the argument so she can prepare over the weekend? Like, can you, so Maren, why don't you go, since Jimena wasn't here to give her closing, you don't know what she said, right? So why don't you, they're going to tell you what her arguments were, right? And then you can help Keenan as well. Very good job. If you want to, if you want today, come on in and get feedback. You can let them know out there. They can come and get feedback if they like. Amazing job. And then talk to all of you if you want some feedback. All right, Sydney. So come to me individually if you want. Good job. I thought you were very well versed, very professional. Good speech team.
Why did you not go to it? Why did you not go to it?
Very good job. Awesome job. Kind of just feeling it. You practice with family. So I thought that must have helped because you see how did you enjoy it? Okay, that's right. At least you can be, even if you didn't enjoy it, you just now know that you can do it. And you did it at a very high level. Because you guys see. What are we watching? What I love is how you get to use those words, but you kind of made the theme, kind of made that theme within your rebuttal, those words that you just did. So that's probably the best rebuttal. One of the best. Oh, yes. So very good job back in exceeding. Very good job. Yes. I remember yesterday. Okay, good. Yeah, I was just thinking here. The first round was great, fantastic. Just from what I heard, you could.
The board hasn't changed.
Oh, I don't want to present.
I love it.
That's your defense. You know you're live right now.
Yeah.
You just did that.
Wait, are we up first?
All right, hey everyone. Let's.
I have a question. For our rebuttals, do we say 3 tonight?
I'm gonna say the three to 7. Not everybody. All right. We're gonna start right at the bell. Okay. So it looks like we're gonna get your topic of
Oh my god. I'm leaving my hair like that. This is what I'm saying. You're the closing?
All right, are you stricter background or gun control? You are. We are free college.
No, you're.
Free State College. Quiet, please, quiet, please. We're gonna start right at the bell. We did not get through all of them last period, so some people got bumped. The closings and the first rebuttal.
No.
Wait.
Oh, you're going first.
You also go on Monday. You also go on Monday.
What?
You also go on Monday.
No, that's me. I'm rebuttal.
Oh, okay. You go today and Monday.
It's fine. It's fine. I just wrote it down. Lauren, is that good?
Yes. Affirmative speaker, come on up. Yes, go ahead. Clap, 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 clap. Is the bell ring yet? We're going to wait for the bell. Okay? You shut that behind you. Also, you are going to be transitioning out. I don't want to lose my voice before the weekend. You are going to be transitioning out here. Do you think it would be appropriate to enter the library if someone's giving a speech?
No.
Wait till they're done and then come in. If something happens at the end of the period and we have to go 30 seconds over and someone's up there, do not come back in. Wait till they're done. If you're worried about that, just take your stuff out with you when you leave. You get your phone stuff. Okay. Clap, clap, clap.
Do you want me to take a picture first?
Oh shoot, sorry, I forgot to say that. I did a huge photo dump on Instagram, if you saw yesterday. I don't have the time today, so after your speech, if you want that, I'll take that picture with you after. Just stay and we'll get that with the background. Okay? And it's more for you. I'm not gonna, well, I'll post them if you want, but it's more if you want it. Huh? All right, go for it, my man.
I would first like to state what they said yesterday, that our colleges won't be able to pay for your laptops. Yes, that may be true for some places, but that is very, very rare. And what we have dealt with this year, with all of COVID-19, that is not something we've ever dealt with on this majority before. And with the Peter G. Foundation found that the U.S. military has spent $649 billion, which is more than the next 7 countries combined, which is $607 billion. That combined with the top marginal tax rate being upped by 8 to 10% would be way more than enough to solve any debt or tax crisis that would happen in free college.
Yeah, you gotta walk away from the podium, then we know. We did have someone start clapping, and then third hour, and then kept going. So yeah, we wait till you walk away, and then we'll clap for it. Very good job. We're not gonna do feedback in between, just to keep it going, since we have 16 speakers today. All right, clap for Ricky. You still want to be listening because you could, if you're a rebuttalist, you're going to refute the closing, but you could also talk about the rebuttals that you hear. Okay.
I think colleges should not have free tuition.
I think that because colleges will go in debt, colleges will also have limited resources to educate the students. They'll also have limited procrastination for college students, and it also shrinks the opportunity gap. Referring back to my first point, college debt. Tax dollars will not equal the student tuition. Also, free tuition also wastes tax dollars on students that don't need it. And also, they'll have less resources for college students, like less teachers, less food, less housing, and less classes. And since there's less classes, there'll be less teachers in the school and more kids per class. Kids will also have no incentive to finish or do well in college if they're going for free. Procrastination also causes frustration, stress, and anxiety for college students. And the gaps between two schools will shrink. Like if one school has better classes than another, since it's free college, it'll eventually even out and they'll become really similar. And the graduation gap will improve. I think colleges should not have free tuition because colleges won't survive. They won't have resources to educate. College students will have no motivation. And if you don't graduate, it won't shrink the opportunity gap.
Thought you nailed it. Good job. So yeah, I was a little confused. That was a closing, so we went out of order, but that's okay. Tyler, you're up, buddy. So clap for Tyler. You should be doing the three that you heard yesterday. You should be refuting the three from their opening that McKenna said. All right, so if you were confused, that was a closing that you just heard. So the new argument that he came up with, did you hear it? Yes.
Can you come over here and I don't know how to say this word.
Yes. Okay, come on up, Kyler. Clap for Kyler.
My opponent says people get a good education, which will get them good jobs, but we disagree. Even if you're getting a good education, some businesses wouldn't accept them because of the type of degree you have. Because in an article by University Wire on Surge that talked about how since it's easier and less costly to get education, that would mean that people who got education through time and effort would have more competition to get a good paying job. This would essentially decrease the value of college education, which would in turn mean that people would have to spend even more money and time into getting a better education just to get a job. Therefore, if you get rid of tuition, it could affect how people are being hired. My opponent says it will help the city gain money, but we disagree. Even if we get free tuition for schools, the government will have to pay for things that the college needs in order to house or have materials for the students that are coming in. Because eventually the government will run out of money. As such, they won't gain as much taxes because of how many businesses have closed, which have left people without jobs. The government will have millions of dollars, but that won't matter. In an article by University Wire that in order for a school to keep running for at least 10 years, it will take $1.25 trillion. That money could be saved for other things like parks and other buildings or products that are for better use. But we chose to waste it for things that people could most likely pay for. Therefore, if schools start to have free tuition, it could take away precious memories at places you love, but then had to be sold due to the lack of funding. My opponent says having free college will help lower and middle class people. But we disagree. Even if we get free tuition for schools, it won't do much to allow people to save money. Because even if we get rid of tuition, we still have to worry about taxes and fees. Fees alone cost over 8 times the amount of tuition. Taxes carry a hefty toll too. If people who don't have much money start to work even harder just to pay for college, they will feel more accomplished than what they felt if college was given to them in the palm of their hand. Which will then mean if it was given to them, they won't have the motive to finish school. In the newspaper by article by Los Angeles Times that talked about how kids who earned a scholarship were able to go to a high grade school, but didn't. Instead, they chose to go to a lower grade school just because it was free and the high grade school wasn't. Therefore, if college does become free, people won't feel as accomplished as they thought they would feel, and they wouldn't feel like they deserve to go to college.
All right, and next is going to be the closing from Emily. So, we're getting sanitized for you first. And then remember, we wait till they walk away from the podium till we start clapping, right? So they walk away from the podium. You're all good. It was way worse third hour. We got about 5 claps in. You caught yourself pretty quick. All right, you ready?
We have said before, free college education is the only way. Even former President Rutherford B. Hayes believed that all kids should have a chance at free education, whether their family was rich or poor. We should not be divided based on our economic wealth. We are all people and we deserve to have the same opportunities in life. Not to mention that almost half of students don't always have the money to pay for food, and 22% are going hungry, 64% are housing insecure, and 15% are homeless. According to the New York Times, that is just in California. These kids will most likely not be able to afford to go to college. They won't have the same chances in life as everyone else, and that is just not fair. Because of something they can't control, their lives are being turned upside down. It would really help the families who are struggling if free college education was provided for their children. They could go to sleep at night, one less thing to worry about. After all, isn't that what everyone deserves? Finally, I would like to remind you that our economy could go into a recession if we keep denying the future of our world the ability to go to college. Washington Governmental Affairs Committee Chairman Fred Thompson and Ranking Member Senator Joseph Lieberman stated that highly trained, skilled workers earning good wages power the economy. What happens if we run out of these workers? What happens if so few can actually afford to go to college that our economy suffers? Thompson and Lieberman also noted, if college becomes a luxury that an increasing percentage of the population cannot afford, the economic divide between the haves and the have-nots could undercut the American dream and stunt the nation's economic growth. The fact is, if we do nothing, our economy will be permanently stunted, our dreams will be taken away, and our ability to grow and succeed as a nation will be demolished. And we encourage students to dream. We tell them to shoot for the stars. We tell them that they have drive and passion, that they can do anything in life. But if that isn't enough to succeed, then why do we push kids so hard to do so? We would also like to point out that there are solutions. We just aren't taking them. The Peter G. Peterson Foundation found that the U.S. spends more money on its military than the next 7 countries combined. That is a lot of money going into one cause. Not to mention that the top marginal tax rate is 37%. If that were to go up even about 8 to 10%, combined with a decrease in military funding, our country would easily have enough money to provide a free college education to all of its citizens. This is a fairly easy solution, and yet we choose to do nothing. We would rather watch our citizens struggle to afford and go to college than actually make a change. If we as a society really want to succeed, then we need to start taking action steps to do so, or else it will be too late. If you don't believe that free college education is possible, then take a look at Germany. It is often singled out for focus by U.S. policymakers. Its economy drives Europe. Its unemployment rates are low, and it manages to power a tuition-free university system without breaking the bank. Germany's solution is simple. Have the government pay off all current debt, and then communities can work together to help pay for colleges. If another country can do this, then why can't we? Why do we sit and question if this is a good idea? Other people are already making changes. They are doing what's right. So should we.
All right, claps for all teams. Great job. Head on out to work on your rebuttals. Head on out.
Okay,
Let's get the next one up.
I don't want to say this all. The last one
Which is going to be,
Wait, do we have to do rebuttal on Monday as well?
yeah, for what they just said. You don't have to dress up.
Let me pray down.
All right, what's your topic? Perfect. All right. It'll be affirmative rebuttal, negative closing, affirmative closing. Okay, affirmative rebuttal, claps, claps, claps. You got it.
My opponent says there should be red flag laws. There should be red flag laws because red flag laws would help lower the amount of shootings. Fox Media states in the first half of 2020 that FBI report found that murder rates were 15% nationwide. In 21 cities, there were 610 homicides this year, and throughout 2020 and during the same period. Therefore, even though shootings don't happen everywhere, they still happen in some places. So red flag laws should be enacted in every state so people stay safe from the bad shootings.
Good job. All right, so now it's we're gonna sanitize first, Andrew. Look out, look out. And then it will go, after you, it'll be your closing, and then their closing. All right, clap for Andrew.
My opponent says that tightening background checks for the gun purchase process will be effective in decreasing the amount of shooting. We disagree and believe that it will not. Because from 1994 to 2004, the state of California tightened background checks for the gun purchase process. But a study from 2 department agencies found that it had no effect on the state level shootings. In theory, we would be spending more money, more of the people's tax money, on software and equipment for ultimately no effect. This is why tightening background checks for the gun purchase process is pointless.
All right, and then so now it's your closing. Is that Johnny?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna play the audio. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go out of order, if that's okay. And so let's have your closing go first, if you're cool with that. And then I'll play the audio after that. Okay. So claps, claps, claps.
Gun control. Think about that for a second. When I think of gun control, I think of keeping people safe, schools, and shootings. Guns start shootings, and more importantly, school shootings. School shootings have shown that 1,316 school shootings have started since 1970. We don't know with what or who, but my opponent over here has said that pistols and automatics are the exact same, but I disagree with that. Pistols have a 14 to 16 round mag, but automatics have 30 to 40, and automatics you can hold down and shoot. But pistols are way harder for trigger fingers, and not everybody has trigger fingers. Gun control. Our opponents have said that gun control will not help at all, but I think that gun control will help by a lot because school shootings are a big part in schools in any state. And our opponent, our classmate has said this in a very big way. Our classmate Lila Bohanic has said, people who have had bad experiences in their lives, in states who have had many school shootings, this gun control will help murders and lower school shootings.
I saw a real credible source right there. I heard our own Lila being cited. All right, very cool. I'm going to play Johnny's for us now, okay? Hey, live stream. We're going to play one video and then we're back to live performances. You're not going to be able to see him, but you'll be able to hear him, okay? Because if I put the video on, it plays off that speaker way back there, unfortunately. So actually, well, you'll be able to see him. Other people won't be able to. Cool. So you can look for him here, and you try to hear his argument so you can refute it for your rebuttal on Monday. All right. All right. Quiet, please.
Listen, we already have stated that mass shooters in past history have passed the background check, and background checks we're changing nor tightening. Research from the UC Davis School of Medicine shows that in the state of California, they actually tried to tighten the background checks and make it more strict. And what do you know? The average homicides and suicides per year, let alone 10 years, did not change. There also have been experiments in the past to control and prevent shootings. And my goodness, they even tried to spend extra money on different softwares and stricter background checks. Little do they know, people can still buy weapons illegally. People are still going to get hurt, and that background checks are literally just a waste of money. In addition, people are trying to put away semi-automatic weapons. It really doesn't make sense because statistics show that mass shooters tend to never use a semi-automatic weapon, and most shooters in the United States will often use a handgun. And all we're trying to say is making gun laws stricter and unnecessary gun laws will further interfere with our Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms. And just taking away guns and changing gun laws will just further cause conflict against others and even the government. So it's really not worth it. Thank you.
Claps for Johnny, even though he's not here, all right. And then claps for both teams. They both did very good. Well done, well done. Head out of here, work on your rebuttals, and let's get, what's up? No, it's here. It's on. So I'm going to put it back up. Live stream is on. We still have, I don't know if we lost a bunch. We still have 5 people on it. All right. Here we go. Come on up, come on up. What's wrong? Hey, you okay? You're good? You know what's wrong? I'm going to pee my pants. What one do you want? Unisex, right? Yeah. Who's the first? Who's the affirmative rebuttal? Them. Okay. Who's your affirmative rebuttal? Perfect. I don't have to grade. Okay. Emily's gonna start, but I already graded her opening, so we're gonna clap her up. And I'm running to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back.
My opponent says that people could feel uncomfortable going into a bathroom that the opposite sex/gender is in. But we disagree, people will feel more comfortable. Because gays and lesbians are actually more comfortable with the opposite sex because they are attracted to the same sex. As well as transgender persons, they might feel more comfortable because they were once that gender, know what it's like, and have the same body parts. And believe it or not, if a child feels more comfortable or safe at their school, they're more likely to perform better and get higher grades. Having these bathrooms will be a benefit to sports as well. Whether team or individual, students will play and perform better. Studies from the University of Minnesota show that being comfortable can actually impact a person's mood, behavior, motivation, stress levels, and encourage interactions. Unisex bathrooms will make everyone feel equal and comfortable. Therefore, the school will perform better in academics and team and individual sports. My opponent also says that people could just use family restroom. But we disagree because there isn't a family restroom in our school. Because of there not being a family restroom at Purdue, there is no, as my opponent says, if they're comfortable without unisex bathrooms, they can use the family restroom. No, they can't. There is no family bathroom, and I guarantee there will be more than a few students uncomfortable. That's why unisex restrooms are an important addition to the school. Forcing a student to use a family restroom might make them feel like an outsider because they have to use a different restroom than everyone else. Milwaukee is all about making everyone feel loved and making a student do something they would not want to do, would not make them feel loved. My opponent also argues that having boys and girls share locker rooms is against the law, but we are talking about unisex bathrooms, not locker rooms. Locker rooms are a completely different situation. Don't try to change the subject. We're talking about restrooms, therefore unisex bathrooms would benefit most.
I heard you shredded them for talking about locker rooms when we were talking about bathrooms. Nice. Okay. Class for the EFOC, they cited in the previous debate the authority figure line. Good.
My opponent says that by adding unisex bathrooms, it'll help transgender people, non-binary, or people that identify as a boy or girl become more comfortable. But we disagree. It won't make them as comfortable as you may think. According to a University of Washington study, when taking 35 people and giving them the options of multi-user gender-segregated restrooms, single-user gender-segregated restrooms, single-user unisex, and multi-user unisex, 0 out of 35 voted for multi-user unisex to be most preferred. 23 out of 35 voted for it to be least preferred, and 4 voted they would never use one. With the majority of these people saying that they would least prefer these bathrooms, it's reasonable to say that they would avoid them, making it likely more divided and more judgmental. Therefore, it would also make sense to say that because this big group of people do not want these restrooms, if these bathrooms get placed, a smaller group of people become uncomfortable using these bathrooms because this big group has not had their voices or opinions heard, and the small group has made the decisions for everyone else. Therefore, it would not make sense to say that unisex bathrooms help people become more comfortable.
All right, so it's going to be negative closing and then affirmative closing. So I think it's Annie. All right, claps for Annie. For Annie.
We should not have unisex bathrooms. There are many safety concerns. We don't know how comfortable people will feel, and it's an invasion of privacy. We would also like to point out the money. The Chronicle of Higher Education and other campuses in California spent $50,000 on a new gender-inclusive, single-occupancy restroom. Unisex bathrooms are estimated to cost between $40,000 to $50,000 per restroom. If one bathroom in each school system's 206 schools underwent such a project, it would cost $10.3 million. Most people don't even want it, as we've seen through past events. The group that wants them is very small. Obviously, we want to put their feelings in consideration, so we look at the downside, stats, and alternatives, and we have safer options. There are always two sides of the story. We get them, and people that don't care for them will feel upset that their voices weren't heard, and people that want them will feel less comfortable due to all the backlash. Another point, would transgender and non-binary students really feel comfortable? It is already known that trans individuals are victimized by hate crimes more than others. The intelligence report using 14 years of FBI hate crime statistics found that LGBTQ people are far more likely to suffer these attacks than any other group. Evidence shown that trans people, especially women of color, are more victimized. Exposing them to unisex bathrooms could make them an easier target. Is this what you want? We should say no to unisex bathrooms.
And then it's going to be the affirmative closing now. And then I think we'll be able to sneak in pretty much, I think we'll get all this debate in the next one. All right, clap, 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 clap.
As we have already shown, transgender and gender non-conforming students feel more comfortable with, and students with disabilities are benefiting from unisex bathrooms. We would also like to show you more ways unisex restrooms are benefiting the lives of others. Gender equality is a problem in our society and has been for many years. Segregating bathrooms by sex does not help this problem. This is a piece with the attitudes and beliefs that created for whites-only drinking fountains, says news leader Mary Sanchez. And she's right. Having segregated bathrooms is the same type of thinking as the Jim Crow segregation laws for restaurants, schools, hospitals, drinking fountains, etc. This type of thinking towards anyone is bad, and by segregating bathrooms, we are heading down the same path. With unisex bathrooms, we may not think of one gender being more important than another, by how cleaner one bathroom is compared to another, or how fancy one bathroom is over another. This could be an opportunity to equalize the gender separation that we have in society. With unisex bathrooms, we can fix the sexism that is going on in our school and show that being who you are is the best you can be. School policies forbidding transgender from using bathrooms aligned with their gender identity violates the law, says a federal court on Wednesday, August 26, 2020. Schools that ban transgender students from using the bathroom they identify as violates the law. So, being in a public school with staff that doesn't want transgender students using the bathroom they identify as is not right. The law being broken and people's rights being taken has never been right. These schools may not like this, but it's true. And something these schools could do to solve their problem is having unisex bathrooms for males, females, and non-binary to use without having any students hurt. A case about a transgender student not being able to use the bathroom to which they identified came up in court. One person called Graham a freak and likened him to a dog, asking, "Must we use tax dollars to install fire hydrants where you can publicly relieve yourselves?" The court recounted. Imagine sending your child to school. Then, being born as a female, now male, he is in school and wants to use the restroom. This school doesn't have a unisex bathroom, and the school won't let him use the male restroom since he was born as a female. Walking into the female restrooms and girls in there staring at him, making fun of him for who he is just because he had enough courage to express himself and how he felt. Would you want your child going to school only to get made fun of because they're transgender and can't use the bathroom to which they identify? Do you want your child to be ashamed of who they are? With unisex bathrooms, students can be proud of who they are and what they want to become. If we had unisex bathrooms at Prairie View, it would benefit many students and even staff. If unisex bathrooms are not put in place at Prairie View School, children who are transgender or gender non-conforming will get bullied, and Waukee has zero tolerance for bullying.
All right, claps for both teams. Very good job. Get on out of here. Go work on those. Let's get our hands up. All right. Feeling good? Are you affirmative or negative? The affirmative rebuttal. Cool. And then negative rebuttal. And then negative closing. And affirmative closing. Cool. I think we should went through everyone's Chanel. Are you the closer? There's a very high chance you get bumped. We'll see. Okay. Oh, we're up to 7 people, man. We are balling. Oh, Johnny. Oh, it's Johnny. Hey, Johnny's on. He was. He said, "Hey, Mr. Kerr, it's me, Johnny, the short kid in your class. Hi." That's a very Johnny thing to say. All right. Feeling good, feeling good. Hey, people way in the back, feel free to come up. You don't have to. Very good job, very good job. Feeling good? All right. Let's clap her up. Yeah, Ella.
My opponent says having armed security will make people feel less safe.
Let me start. Can I start over?
With slide.
Oh, yes, let's get your slide correct, too. Armed security?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, pick a remix. Go for it.
My opponent says having armed security will make people feel less safe and more scared. But we disagree. According to many websites, if there's no security force present to neutralize a shooter during an attack, then more students are at risk to be injured or killed. Meaning more kids are scared to come to school because they know they won't always be safe. Leading into my next topic, my opponent also says won't always be safe. Leading into my next topic, my opponent also says having armed security won't prevent shooting, but we disagree. According to the trace.edu, the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Meaning without guards, there to help, what do they have to fear? Nothing. My opponent also says gun control is overreacting, but it's not. One is one too many. It could happen any day. No one deserves something like that to happen to them or to someone they love. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen. Therefore, we should have armed security in schools.
let's get it sanitized first, Connor, and then you want to be listening for their arguments, because you can refute what Connor says and what the closing says, okay? Johnny said he saw us sweating the whole time. You got it ready to go? All right. Claps for Connor. Get him, Connor. Go get him, bud.
My opponent says that school security causes less danger. We disagree. School security causes more danger. According to USA Today, school security is more dangerous because the kids could start riots. Therefore, no school security is safer. My opponent also says school security causes less stress, but we disagree. School security causes a lot more stress. Because according to USA Today, school security causes more stress because they will have the fear that a shooting is more likely to occur. Therefore, no school security is safer. Thank you.
All right, then we're going to go closing, which is Jacob, and then I lied. You know you're going today, kid. All right, claps for Jacob. Yes, I see a face. I like it.
We have shown how armed guards and metal detectors will negatively impact the school. You have heard how they will make school more dangerous while learning that armed guards can have more intense types of punishments than counselors or teachers. That it can be ineffective when needed most when hearing that there could be security abuse, and that it will be very stressful to students and parents and make them very anxious and scared while hearing that their kids are forced to hide behind lockers while there's threats being shouted and blanks being fired and locked up. Furthermore, armed guards in schools make kids feel like prisoners, and there are many different reasons that make that true. According to USA Today, putting more people with guns in school is not the answer. Police presence in school, we are guaranteeing that more kids will get arrested. How can my opponents be okay with this? Also, USA Today states that minor issues such as drawing on a desk or talking back to a teacher, which used to be dealt with by school officials or guidance counselors, are now being dealt with by police officers who will arrest kids for such minor misbehavior. Again, this is something my opponents are pushing towards happening. Drawing on a desk is not even close to being a misdemeanor. Take Alexa Gonzalez, for example. She was arrested by the NYPD for drawing on her desk, and she was only 12. Is that really necessary? Sure hope none of you guys have drawn on desks. This is massive because their life has changed after getting that arrest. That's something on their record that isn't coming off. They could never be able to go to college or get a job, as well as that they could end up homeless. Those are the bad things coming from drawing on a desk and getting arrested at school by a police officer or armed guard. Can't you see this is wrong? A teacher or principal could have simply disciplined a student or given it attention and to call home. Even though they still get a punishment, it's definitely not as bad as getting arrested. Second, according to USA Today, lockdown drills and armed guards roaming the halls can traumatize youngsters. No one should sense that they're being watched minute by minute. This is exactly like a prison. The guards at a prison patrol the corridors. Do we really want armed guards patrolling our hallways? Students would get searched by the metal detector like a prisoner. Students would feel like a prisoner when they see the armed guards at every side of the building, and even the appearance of walking into the school and seeing 1 or 2 armed guards would be exactly like walking into a prison. Again, armed guards and metal detectors can be traumatizing. Guards with semi-automatic guns or even shotguns at the entrance at a place that should be fun and positive isn't something that any student should have to deal with. So now let's find something that doesn't do more bad than good.
Kate, have you ever drawn on a desk? I saw your eyes get wide because she's one of my drawers, I know. Oh no, they're coming for you, Kate. Look out. They're kicking down your door. All right, clap for Chanel. Get it, Chanel. Yes, Chanel. Go, go, go.
Okay, in Milwaukee schools, there should be armed security. It will increase officer response time in an emergency and prevent school shootings and intruders. We've already shown increasing officer response time and preventing school shootings and intruders. We would also like to point out that having armed security would be better for students and families by making them feel safe and protected. Having armed security will stop kids from getting in trouble by vandalizing, sexual sexual assaults, and school physical fights. Students won't want to do these things because security will be around watching what they do. When you think about it, having security and officers' trust is an important part in life. Kids will learn to be able to go to them when they need to, or if they're in trouble, or if something bad happened. We do have a police station somewhat close to our school, but having in-person protection would make students and parents feel better if an emergency happens. Teachers wouldn't have to call the police while being in the school waiting for protection to come. They'll already be there to get teachers and students to the best safe place for the situation. Security will be there also observing students' actions and words to be able to give parents information on what is going on at school with their kids. In conclusion, armed security guards would be great for our school district while key. Not only would they help things like intruders, response time to get the police to the schools, and making it easier for police officers, it would help student emergencies like bullying, sexual assaults, and more. According to the NRA, after the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown that killed 26 people, the National Rifle Association recommended that armed guards should be stationed at every school to prevent similar episodes. How would you feel as a parent if you got a call saying your child was injured or killed in a school shooting, or if your child came home crying from school because they were being bullied and they didn't have anyone at the schools to prevent it from happening again or to help them?
Clap for both groups. Why don't you head over there or stay where you're at and get your rebuttals done? You have about 5 minutes to help your rebuttal speaker. Rebuttals, it's up to you. I will not force you to dress up for Monday since you already had to dress up today. Okay, so up to you. But you do go on Monday, final rebuttal. Cool? All right, if you want feedback, come to me and get your feedback if you want today. We still got 6 people on the stream and 1 like. We're balling.
Lightheaded.
Little lightheaded? Okay. Why don't you come over?
I think a little bit ago.
One at a time, come on over.
We had 3 people.
Forget it.
Let's see if my parents are on. Can you see who's on? No. 5 people are on. Wait, can you see who's on? Hey, Queens. Hey. Please tell me that won't be on YouTube.
Come on over. And then so.
I didn't. Did I stop? I didn't have it. No, I don't know. Oh my God, I really. Hey Siri. Hey Siri.
Wait, this might actually work.
Lila.
Oh, here it is. Wait. What's up, people?
Who's commenting? Hey, Mr. Kurt, it's me, Johnny, the short kid in your class.
What?
Yeah, you guys get it. I'm gonna go get my feedback.
Yeah.
Let's go. Bye, live stream. Have a good day. Bye. Bye. Have a good day.
Good job, Lua.
Science fiction, poetry, or good? Oh, thank you. Very nice. Okay. Tyler, current job. Full practice, and your Perfect. Okay, Jacob, I think you did a fantastic job. You were Good job. Yes, that was really good. Yesterday. All right, later. Okay. I would like, I think. All right. The what? Yep, that's fine. I turned it off and now I just turned it back on today, so I'm good there. Also, are we able to get this Tuesday during third?